My name is Dan Cameron, and I am the Chief Curator of the Orange County Museum of Art. And I'm here because we are delighted to be showing Chris Burden's A Tale of Two Cities as part of our exhibition currently running at Ocma, the Avant-Garde Collection. This installation work was originally made in 1981, and it was presented as part of a group exhibition at LACMA. The idea was that at the time it was simply to express these very complicated feelings about war and militarization and the United States' role in that, Southern California's role in that, because Chris was living here at the time, and also connecting that to the time in his childhood when he began collecting soldiers himself and how much he liked to play war games alone and with his friends. So the original installation was temporary. And then a few years later it was shown again, and then a couple years after that it was shown again. And the version that the museum acquired was presented in 1987 at Ronald Feldman Gallery in New York, which was at that time Chris Burden's main gallery. And it was purchased to prepare for the Chris Burden retrospective that Paul Schimmel organized a year later at the museum. So part of the process of developing the retrospective was to have this major piece, at that time the most complex and complicated work that Chris Burden had done, and make it part of the permanent collection of the museum, solidifying the seriousness that the museum was bringing to its conversation and working relationship with Chris Burden. Between 1987 and 2014, the piece has really grown. Part of the agreement with the artist was that he would be able to change it over time, and it now seems to have reached the period when he's stepping back and saying, I think it's done. We've shown the work now 3 times in the last 18 months. The first time was at a restorer's studio, as the piece, which had been in storage for a while and suffered damage, needed to really be worked over and completely stabilized. And then it was presented about a year ago at a Chris Burden retrospective at the New Museum in New York, and now for the 3rd time here at Ocma. So it's probably one of the pride and joys of the museum in terms of being a truly prized part of our collection. So A Tale of Two Cities comes in 16 crates, and one of those crates is just full of rocks. You have to make it piecemeal. It takes about 3 weeks for several people working full-time to really realize the piece. The first thing that you bring in is the sand. We had, I think, over 20 tons of sand brought in. Then the rocks are located, and after the rocks, the plants. The plants are living, so they have to be maintained during the course of the installation and then after, while the piece is running. And that whole process takes about a week. And then from that moment on, it's really a question of shaping the sand and creating the two cities, big city and little city, that are at war with each other. So the 5,000 separate soldiers that make up the piece all have a very precise location. The registrar used hundreds of photographs that were done on site to really match the photographic evidence of the way that it was done that Chris Burden really liked with what was happening in real time on the ground. So this last iteration at Ocma is the first time that the new restored version has been shown without the artist being present. So he's not only signed off on it, he's also trusting our team to really make the piece from soup to nuts and only have him step in at the end to give us his blessing.